The galaxy had forgotten how quiet it was. The Dragon Emperor's voice had been heard across star systems for 300 years. His orders changed the course of the history. His wisdom kept wars from happening. His famous star dreadnought, Aethel, was more than just a ship. It was a living monument, a combination of technology and consciousness that broke all known laws of physics. But now, the Imperial Palace, throne room on Draconix Prime, was very quiet. Ambassador Mirachan stood in front of the huge crystal window and looked at a huge ship that was floating in an orbital dock. Aethel was almost 10 miles long, and its black hull was covered in old runs that used to glow with golden light. Now they flickered weakly, like stars that are about to die. How long has he been this way? Mira asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Chief advisor behind her, Theron Bask, a tall man with silver hair and tired eyes, let out a deep sigh. 47 days. We thought it was meditation at first. The Emperor often goes into deep thought, but then the ship started to break down. Mira turned to look at the throne, which was a huge chair made from one piece of star forged metal and connected directly to Ethel's neural network through quantum tethers. And there was the Dragon Emperor, or what was left of him. His body was still impressive, broad shoulders covered in ceremonial armor that sparkled with protective fields, a face that showed centuries of wisdom, and eyes that once burned with cosmic fire. But those eyes were now blank and staring at nothing. His chest moved up and down in a mechanical way, but there was no awareness behind it. Theron said, "The Emperor's mind is connected to Ethel's core AI," as he walked up carefully. 300 years ago, he went through the great binding, which made him immortal by merging his mind with the ship's quantum matrix. He lives as long as Ethel works, but now the ship is dying, and it's taking him with it. Mira said, her voice full of fear. Not just him. The outer territories are already showing signs of trouble without the Emperor's help. The Krill Syndicate is pushing the limits of our borders. The trade consortium is breaking up. If people find out that our Emperor is weak, the whole galactic order could fall apart. Mira walked up to the throne and looked at the Emperor's blank face. What have your engineers done? Theron's jaw got tight. Everything. We've brought in the best AI experts from 12 different fields. They've done diagnostics, replaced broken parts, and upgraded power cores. But Aethel isn't answering. The core AI isn't just broken, it's breaking up, getting less coherent. And with it, the Emperor's mind is breaking up, like dust in the void. There has to be someone who can help. There was one name that kept up coming in our research. Theron opened up a holographic file. A mechanic from Fringe Worlds. His name is Galen Ross. People say he can fix things that are impossible to fix, like old colony ships, mining grids from before the war, and technology that everyone else said was dead. Mira looked at the picture of a man in his 30s with greasy hair and brown eyes that looked smart. His hair was always messy. Is that a person? From outside? Theron. Aethel is the most advanced AI ever made. It has technology from the old empire that we don't really understand. How could a mechanic on the front tire possibly? Because everyone has failed, Theron said, cutting him off. His voice was full of desperation. We don't have any other choices. Because the Emperor's neural patterns will be too damaged to fix in 72 hours. And because he paused. Because sometimes the old ways, the simple ones, see what the new ones can't. Mira looked at the dying ship again, then at the empty shell of the galaxy's greatest ruler. Send for him, she said in a low voice. Get this Galen Ross. Theron nodded and turned on his comm link. Authorization VASC, Delta 7. Send a priority retrieval ship to Fringe Station Outpost Theta. Target Galen Ross, a mechanic who is a person. Critical Imperial Emergency is the name of the group. The order traveled across light years in seconds, so neither of them saw the Emperor's eyes flicker. It was just a brief spark of awareness, as if some deep part of him knew that hope, no matter how unlikely, was on its way. Aethel's hull groaned softly in the docking bay as its old systems struggled to keep basic functions going. Deep inside its quantum core, pieces of Empress mind floating through corrupted data streams, silently crying out into digital void. There was a memory in those broken circuits, a young prince standing in front of the ship for the first time and making a choice that would shape an empire. A choice to be more than human, more than mortal. A choice that was now killing him. The galaxy held its breath, hoping for a miracle from the most unlikely place. A simple mechanic from the farthest reaches of civilization. When the Imperial shuttle arrived, Galen Ross was elbow deep in the guts of a cargo hauler. Damn it, you stubborn piece of junk, he muttered, as he fought with a corroded power coupling that had probably been there since before his grandfather was born. People didn't go to Fringe Station Outpost Theta to get new gear. Everything here was old, broken, and held together by prayer and improvisation. Kaylin, Jamie Park, a young woman with oil stained coveralls and bright green eyes, ran across the hangar to help him. You need to look at this. Can it wait? I'm only 30 seconds away from getting this hauler back online, and Captain Torres will kill me if there's an Imperial shuttle outside with the seal of the king. They want you. Kalen's wrench slipped and almost crushed his fingers. He got out from under the hauler and wiped the sweat from his forehead with a rag that was already dirty. Imperial? Are you sure? Galen, I know how the crest of the Dragon Emperor looks. Everyone does. His heart started to race. Galen had never been more than 10 light years away from the station in 34 years of life. The Empire was something far away, almost like a myth. It was a huge civilization that lived in the core systems, while people like him kept old machines running on the forgotten frontier. Did they say what they want? Just that it's important. They said it was critical. Galen looked down at his hands, which were covered in oil, his patched jumpsuit, and the tools that were lying around his desk. I'm not really dressed to meet people from the Empire. I don't think they care. Galen took a deep breath and grabbed a cleaner rag. He did his best to wipe off the worst of the grease. As he walked toward the hangar entrance where the shuttle was parked, his stomach was doing flips. It was worth more than all the ships on this station combined. Two Imperial guards stood at attention, their armor clean and scary. A woman in the formal diplomatic dress, Ambassador Mira Chen, stood between them. Kaelin Ross? Her voice sounded professional, but there was a sense of urgency in it. That's me, ma'am. He thought his voice sounded small in his own ears. I'm Ambassador Chen, the Dragon Emperor's special envoy. We need your help right away. My help? I believe there has been a mistake. I only fix things that are broken. Colony ships, mining rigs, that no one else wants to deal with. Exactly. Mira stepped forward with a serious look on her face. Mr. Ross, your reputation comes before you. 3 years ago, you got a 200-year-old colony ship back up and running when everyone else said it couldn't be done. You fixed the quantum stabilizers on the Theta mining station last year by using parts from 12 different old systems that weren't working anymore. You see links that other people don't. You see machines not just as collections of parts, but as living systems. Kalen's face turned red. I just don't give up easily, that's all. We need someone who won't give up. Someone who can find a way to fix a problem that everyone else thinks is hopeless. She stopped and looked him over. The Dragon Emperor star, Dreadnought, Ethel is failing, and the Emperor himself went with it. The words hurt Kalen like a punch. The Emperor? But isn't he immortal? Connected to his ship? Yes. This means that he will die when the ship does. In about 68 hours. Mira's voice got quieter. Every AI expert in the Empire has tried to fix Ethel's core. Everyone has failed. The systems are too old, too connected, and too hard to use. But you are an expert at the impossible. Kalen's thoughts were racing. Ma'am, with all due respect, fixing a colony ship is very different from working on the most advanced AI in the history of the galaxy. I don't know how to work with sentient systems. I work with circuits and power flows, mechanical interfaces. The Emperor's chief engineer said something like that. Mira cut in. He said that Ethel's problem isn't with its advanced system, it's in the old ones, the foundation protocols, which are the old code that no one knows how to read anymore. The easy system that everyone ignores because they're looking for the hard ones. She brought up a holographic screen that showed Ethel's diagnostic readings. Kalen could see the chaos, even though he didn't have a full view of it. There were cascading failures, broken subroutines, and data loops that turned into noise. But he saw something in the mess, a pattern, a beat that made him think of. He said, almost to himself, that looks like harmonic degradation, like when old power cores start to lose sync with the networks that send them out. The main system isn't broken, it's just fighting itself because the timing is wrong. Mira's eyes got bigger. Our experts never brought up harmonic problems because those are the more advanced parts, they said. They focused on the quantum matrices and the neural pathway. But what if the basic timing systems don't work together? Kalen's mechanical instincts took over as he traced pattern in the hologram. Ma'am, I can't make any promises, but I'll try if you really don't have any other choices. Mira's face showed a faint smile, which was the first sign of hope he'd seen. Your tools? I'll get my kit. No time. We'll make whatever you need on the board, Ethel. We have to go now. Galen turned around and looked at the cargo holder, which was still half fixed, at Jamie, who was staring with wide eyes, in the only home he had ever known. He then thought about the Dragon Emperor, a character from legends and historical text, who died alone on his own ship because no one could figure out how to save him. Okay, he said softly. Let's go help an emperor. As the shuttle took off, Galen put his face up to the window and watched Outpost Theta get smaller and smaller below him. His hands were shaking, but not because he was scared, because of excitement, because Galen Ross was about to work on something that was truly impossible. For the first time in his life, he didn't know that he wasn't just going to fix a ship, he was going to fix a soul. It took 6 hours to get to the Draconix Prime through hyperspace. Galen spent most of it looking at technical readouts that made his head spin. He whispered, This can't be right. as he zoomed in on Ethel's plans. These channels for distributing power. There are 17 layers, and this neural network, it's not processing in parallel. It's quantum entangled across dimensional boundaries. Mira sat across from him in the passenger area of the shuttle. People built Ethel during the old empire's golden age, using tools and techniques that we don't have anymore. At the time, the Dragon Emperor was a prince who died from a genetic disease. He chose to merge with the ship instead of dying, which made him more than human. So his mind is really in the ship's AI? More than that, he is the ship's computer. Or maybe not. The main system was made to hold his mind, keep his memory safe, and make his brain work better. It worked perfectly for 300 years. The Emperor and Aethel were one being, a living ship with the knowledge of many years. Galen felt like he was going to explode. And now that system is falling apart. This means, this means that Emperor's mind is also breaking up. His memories, his personality, and his sense of self were all turning into bad data. Mira's voice was deep. In our last diagnostic, we saw times when he briefly came up, knowing he was dying, but not being able to do anything about it. Can you picture that horror? Being aware enough to realize you're losing yourself. Caitlin shut his eyes and thought about how that must feel. He said quietly, I'll do everything I can. Caitlin's breath caught when they came out of hyperspace. Aether hung in space like a sleeping dragon. It was huge, old and beautiful, even though it was dying. The ship's black hull was covered in the pulsing runes that Mira had talked about. But now he could see them up close. They weren't just for show, they were part of the ship's power control system, and each one was a point in a huge energy network. When they were going dark, another group of ruins blinked and died, like stars going out while he watched. We're losing more sections every hour, Mira said in a quiet voice. Life support is stable, but the systems that keep people awake are in trouble. The shuttle docked with Ethel's main hangar, which was big enough to hold a small city. Galen stepped out onto the deck and knew right away that something was wrong. It was too cold outside. The lights are too dim, and there was a sound that was always there, but hard to hear. A low hum that made him feel sad. A new voice said, The ship knows how it is. Galen turned to see Theron Vass, the chief advisor, coming up with a woman in engineering coveralls and silver hair. This is Dr. Sarah Miyamoto, Ethel's chief engineer, Theron said. For 40 days straight, she's been working on the core. Dr. Miyamoto looked very tired, and her eyes were red around the edges. She looked at Galen with open doubt. Are you the mechanic from the fringe? The one who is supposed to save what the best AI experts in 12 fields couldn't? Galen's face felt hot. I'm going to try, ma'am. Trying isn't enough. The Emperor has less than 60 hours. If you fail, Sarah, Theron's voice was soft but strong. Give him the core. Dr. Miyamoto's face softened a little. Come with me and get ready. It's not nice. They walked through Ethel's hallways, which were huge and full of technology that Gaethan had only read about in old records. Everything getting darker, shutting down and dying. And then they got to the core chamber. Galen came to a complete stop. The room was round and almost 100 feet wide. In the middle was the quantum core, a crystal sphere full of unstable energy that made a crackling sound. Holographic displays around it showed system failures that were happening one after the other. Data streams were always breaking up and coming back together. Galen saw error messages in languages he didn't know, but that wasn't what surprised him. Holographic images that were only partially cleared appeared and disappeared all over the room, like pieces of memories. A young man is laughing, a fight in space, a meeting between diplomats, a woman with a smile on her face, a child's hand reaching up. Oh my God, Helen whispered. The containment fields are breaking down, Dr. Miyamoto said, her voice full of emotion. His mind is spilling out. Those are pieces of memory that don't have a stable structure to hold them anymore. They'll all be gone soon, and with him, with them. Kalen moved slowly forward, as if he were going to something holy. Can I can I talk to the diagnostic systems? Dr. Miyamoto pointed to a control station. We've written down everything we tried. There will be a lot of logs of failures. Kalen sat down and put his hands on the control. He took a deep breath and started to pull up data streams. He read in silence for 20 minutes while the others watched. As he went deeper, his face changed from confusion to focus, to something like understanding. He finally said something. You're specialists. They all saw this as a problem with AI repair. That's what it is, Dr. Miyamoto said, sounding defensive. No. Galen looked up at her with intense eyes. It's not. Ethel is more than just an AI. It's a mind that lives on top of machines. You've been trying to fix the mind directly by fixing neural pathways and debugging cognitive matrices. But that's like trying to make someone better by changing the way they think. Then what do you think? Theron asked. Galen turned back to the screens and pulled up all the data, like system logs from hundreds or even thousands of years ago. You need to fix the body first, the systems that make up the foundation. Look, he said, pointing to a part. These timing protocols, the ones that make sure all the ethyl systems' main functions work together. They are off by 0.003 milliseconds, Dr. Miyamoto said. That's nothing. Not very measurable. For a normal AI, yes. But these systems are quantum entangled with the Emperor's mind. Every little misalignment gets bigger across all dimensions. It's like trying to think really while someone keeps talking to you. You completely lose your train of thought in the end. Kalen's finger flew over the controls, opening one file after another. And here are the emotional matrices from the first integration. They are not broken, they're asleep, like someone put them to sleep and forgot to wake them up. Mira asked softly. The Emperor had feelings? Kalen replied. He was human once. Those feelings are still a part of him, which made him who he was. But these mattresses haven't been kept up in, God, more than 1,000 years. They're not online. And without them, the mind can't fully connect. It's like telling someone to live without emotions. The mind just breaks apart in the end. He looked up at the three of them with a determined look on his face. I can't fix this the way your experts tried. I have to go deeper into the original rules for integration, the old code that no one remembers. First, I need to know how the Emperor got on this ship, and then I need to rebuild that link, one system at a time, memory by memory, Dr. Miyamoto said. That could take months. We don't have months. I know. Kalen's jaw set. That's why I'm not leaving this room until it's done. There was a moment of silence. Then another memory fragment floated by. It was of a young prince standing in front of Ethel for the first time, with hope and fear in his eyes. Help me, Kalen whispered as he looked at the breaking core. Tell me who you were. Help me get you back. And something answered deep in the quantum noise. A flash of understanding. A spark from the Dragon Empress, who is still fighting to stay alive. For the first 24 hours, Kalen didn't sleep. Dr. Miyamoto told him to take breaks, but he wouldn't. As time went on, more and more of the Emperor's mind faded away into the void. There wasn't any time to rest. Show me the integration logs from the original binding, Galen said, his eyes bloodshot but focused. The ceremony, when the Emperor and Ethel first joined, Dr. Miyamoto pulled up files that were 300 years old, and many of them were broken or missing. Most of this data was never meant to be used again. The binding was meant to last forever. Kalen looked through the old code that was written in programming languages that were around before modern ones. This is amazing. Look, they didn't just put his mind online, they put it into the ship's system. There is a part of him in every important function. His sense of direction and spatial awareness are in navigation systems. Weapon systems have his ability to think strategically. His instinct for protection comes from life support. How does that help us? Theron wanted to know. He hadn't left the core chamber either, watching Kalen work with desperate hope. Because it means that Emperor isn't just stored in the quantum core. He's everywhere, spread out all over Aethel, like a soul spread out through a body. Kalen's hand was shaking because he was excited and had too much coffee. Which means we don't have to fix everything all at once. We can put him back together one piece at a time, system by system. But how do we begin? Mira asked, as she brought Kalen another cup of coffee. Kalen looked at the flickering quantum core and thought, with his base, his true self, what was he like before he became emperor? Dr. Miyamoto looked at old records. Prince Marcus Aurelius Draven, the Empress Consort's youngest son, a great strategist and a great diplomat. He was 28 years old when he was diagnosed with neural decay syndrome. He chose the binding over death. He wanted to keep helping his people, serving his people, Kanan said again. That was what he was supposed to do. His reason for being? He pulled up the emotional matrices again and looked at them while they were still. These aren't just random functions. They are based on duty, protection, and sacrifice. He started typing commands, slowly and with care. I'm going to give it a shot. The first emotional matrix. I'm going to wake up the one that has to do with his sense of duty. If I can get that active, it might give the rest of his mind a stable place to build around, Dr. Miyamoto said. That's not how AI repair works. You can't just turn on dormant systems at random. This isn't an AI, Kaden said softly. This is a person, and people need reasons to stay. Purpose, identity. His fingers was hovering over the command to run. Everyone needs to back off. There could be a power surge if this doesn't work. No one moved. Okay then, Kaelen pushed the button. Nothing happened for 3 seconds. Then there was a lot of light in the core chamber. The holographic displays went crazy. Suddenly, the quantum core burst with energy, and the memory pieces that had been floating around them stopped moving randomly. Instead, they started to swirl in patterns, like iron fillings around a magnet. There was a deep, resonant, and confused voice in the room that said, Where, where am I? Everyone stopped. Emperor, Thrawn yelled, his voice cracking. Your Majesty, I remember duty, purpose. My people, I was supposed to protect. The voice came and went like a weak radio signal. But I'm lost. I'm all over the place. Who am I? Kalen's heart was racing. Your Majesty, I'm Kalen Ross. I'm trying to help you. Can you hear me? A break. Then, person? A voice from a person, but not the same. Not the imperial standard. Where are you from? The French worlds, Your Majesty. Outpost Theta. The French? But that's my job. The outer areas, I remember. I remember caring about those worlds, making sure they didn't get lost. The voice got louder. Are they? Are my people on the fringe safe? Keelan's face was now covered in tears. Yes, Your Majesty. Because of your rules, your safety. Good. We live because you never forgot about us. That's good. The voice started to fade again. But I'm also so tired. So all over the place. I can't I can't hold on. Yes, yes you can. Galen yelled and jumped up. Your Majesty, I know you're hurt right now. I can see that you're breaking up. But I'm going to put you back together. By system, memory by memory. I promise you that I won't give up. Who are you to make such promises? The voice was barely a whisper now. I can fix things that seem impossible as a mechanic. And Your Majesty, you are the most important thing I have ever seen. But I have never met a machine that I couldn't fix. And I'm not going to start now. A sound like laughter echoed through the room. It was weak, but real. A mechanic? A simple mechanic from the fringe who says he can fix the Emperor's soul? There's a sense of humor in the universe. Please, Your Majesty, wait just a little longer. I'll try. Mechanic? But you should know that most of me is already gone. The memories are going away. I can't remember a lot of things. People's faces, names, years of my life just went away. Then I'll help you remember, Galen said with anger. We have the logs for your ship, records from the past. There is a record of every memory you have lost. I can fix them. That's not how memory works. Remembering is not the same as data. Then I'll figure out how to make it the same. I don't care if it's never been done before. There was silence. The light from the quantum core was getting dimmer again. Then, in such a low voice that they almost missed it. Very well, mechanic from French. Show me what stubbornness in people can do. And the voice completely stopped. But things were different now. The memory fragments were no longer spreading out. They were holding their breath and waiting. And deep in the quantum core, Galen saw new activity, weak but well organized. A mind trying to put itself back together around that one thing it has to. Dr. Miyamoto was shocked and staring at her tools. I don't believe it. The degradation has slowed down, not stopped, but steady. How did you? I gave him a reason to hold on, Galen said, finally feeling tired. Now I have to give him the things he needs to start over. He sat back, down at the controls, and his hands were steadier now. Dr. Miyamoto, I need full access to the Aethel's historical databases. Every record, log, and piece of information about the Emperor's life. That's a lot of data, I know, but I will read it. Everything. He looked up at her, and his brown eyes were full of determination. Because I need to know the life that shaped the soul if I'm going to rebuild it. Mira moved forward. What do you want from us? Time, room, and a coffee. A lot of coffee. He was able to smile weakly. Oh, and someone should probably let the galaxy know that their emperor is still at war. He won't give up. And I am not either. Dr. Miyamoto started downloading hundreds of years worth of data to Kalen's computer. Thiron put a hand on the young mechanic's shoulder and said, You just spoke to a legend. You just gave hope to the most powerful being in the universe. No, Kalen said, already diving into the streams of data. I gave hope to a scared, broken person who needed to know that someone was fighting for him. He opened the first memory file, which was a video log from Prince Marcus' childhood. Before the binding, a young man with fire in his eyes talked about his dreams for the empire. Let's see who you really are, Your Majesty, Keelan said quietly. Let's get that person back. As he started the long and difficult process of rebuilding, the Dragon Emperor's mind stirred in Ethel's system, no longer alone in the dark. Hope, even if it was small, had come back. 38 hours. There are 22 hours left. Keelan had found something both beautiful and sad. The Emperor's memories weren't kept in order. They were stored by how much they made you feel. Look at this, he said to Dr. Miyamoto, who had been with him all this time. This group of memories here all have to do with love, family, get togethers, quiet times with friends, and kind things done for you. Dozens of memory fragments glowed with a warm golden light on the holographic screen. And these, he pointed to a darker area, are losses. Losses, deaths, regrets. Dr. Miyamoto understood that the emotional matrices shaped the building. His feelings literally shaped how his mind was organized. This means I can't just restore memories at random to rebuild him. I need to know how I feel about this. What was the most important to him? Kalen opened a certain memory file. This one shows up in his access logs more than any other. He thought about his memory thousands of times over the course of 3,000 years. He turned it on. The holographic projection showed a small, cozy bedroom. Prince Marcus, who was probably only 20 years old, sat next to a hospital bed where an old woman was dying. His grandma. Marcus, she said, her voice weak but full of love. You have so much on your plate, always trying to help everyone. Someone has to, Grandma, young Marcus said as he held her hand. But who is going to save you? I don't need help. The old woman smiled sadly. Everyone needs help, my dear boy, even emperors. Emperors in particular. Promise me that when you feel lost, you won't be afraid to ask for help. It's smart. I swear. The memory got weaker. Keelan sat quietly, very moved. Dr. Miyamoto said softly. He watched this memory over and over again, especially in the last few decades. Keelan realized that he was lost. Part of him knew that the AI systems were not working. He was looking for advice, and he kept thinking about the last time someone told him it was okay to ask for help. Understanding fell into the place. That's why he talked to me in the core. Why he said yes when I offered to help. Part of him, deep down in his mind, was following his grandmother's advice, getting help from an unexpected source. Kalen started typing very quickly. First, we bring back the memories that made him who he was, and then we build on that, she said. That's actually brilliant. It works like human memory does. We remember the things that are important. They worked together for the next 6 hours, with Kalen finding important emotional memories and Dr. Miyamoto stabilizing the data structures to hold them. They slowly and carefully started to put the Emperor's inner world back together. He remembers his first battle, the fear, the responsibility, and how relieved he was when his plan saved lives. A memory of his coronation, both the physical and emotional weight of the crown. A memory of falling in love with a diplomat from a faraway world. The relationship ended when he had to go to work somewhere else. A memory of the day he found out he had neural decay. He was terrified of losing his mind and desperately hoped that the binding would let him keep serving his people. Galen whispered. He gave up everything. As she watched that last memory, a normal life, love, even a normal death. Also, he could keep the galaxy safe. And now, a mechanic from the fringe is fighting to protect that sacrifice, Theron said as he walked into the room with food that Kaelin barely touched. The irony would make him laugh if you could fully understand it, Keelan said firmly. He will process it. We're getting better. The core is becoming more stable. Look, memory integration is up to 47%. But the timing, Dr. Miyamoto said, her voice getting worried. We might not finish before critical degradation, even at this rate. Galen got up and stretched his sword back. He walked over to the quantum core and looked at it closely. The memory fragments were no longer random. They were starting to make structures and patterns, like a mind putting itself back together. He spoke to the emperor as if he could hear him and said, Your Majesty, I know you're in there, looking, fighting. I need you to know something. He put his hand on the containment field and felt the energy humming against his palm. I've spent 2 days getting to know you, looking at your logs, looking back on your memories. And you know what I've learned? You're not a perfect, far off legend. You were scared, brave, alone, and dedicated. You messed up. You weren't sure, but you never stopped caring. The core pulsed a little. Was it reacting? Your Majesty, I'm from the fringe, a place so far from the empire's center that most people don't remember we exist. But you didn't forget. I found dozens of policies in your logs that you put in place just to protect the outer territories. Allocations of resources, defense pacts, trade protections. Keelan's voice got thick with feeling. Your Majesty, you saved my home. The trade consortium would have shut down the station where I grew up if you hadn't stepped in 70 years ago, because you cared about people you'd never met. My parents, my friends, and my whole community exist. So I'm telling you now that I won't give up. Not because you're the emperor, because you are the one who gave kids like me a chance to live. That person should be saved. Though, for a while, nothing happened. Then the quantum core lit up with a light so bright that they all had to cover their eyes. The Emperor's voice came back, stronger than before. Kalen Ross, there was no more confusion, just clarity and determination. You've been digging up my memories. I can feel them coming back, piece by piece. It hurts, like waking up from a long bad dream. I understand, Your Majesty. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Pain means I'm still here, still real. A pause. I remember you now, not just from what we talked about, but also from the logs. I read about your work fixing Outpost Theta years ago. Put you on a watch list. Kalen's eyes got bigger. You knew about me? I made it my job to learn about people who kept communities safe. People like you who kept civilization going in places that were forgotten. The Emperor's voice was now warm. When I looked at your file, I thought, this is what people can be at their best. Stubborn, able to find solutions, not giving up hope, even when surrounded by old equipment and impossible odds. And now you won't leave me. Kalen's face was wet with tears. I won't leave you, Your Majesty. I promise. I get it. That's who you are, though. The voice got quieter. Kalen, I have something to say to you. You've been fixing my emotional mattresses. I'm starting to feel things again. Feel really. And what I feel most strongly is thanks. I've been a mind without emotion for 300 years. A mind that is only focused on duty and logic. I forgot what it was like to have hope, to feel connected. You are giving that back to me. Then stay with me, Your Majesty. Keep fighting. We're not done yet. What's next? Galen looked at the data streams and the math he had done. The tough part. I've brought back your core identity, your most important memories, and the emotional base you need. But there are still big holes, missing whole decades, relationships broken, and your connection to Ethel system is still weak. Can you make it work? Galen said honestly. I don't know. I've never done this before. I need to rewrite the binding protocols, which are the code that connects you to this ship. But I'm scared that if I mess it up, you'll kill me. Yes, the core chamber was silent. Everyone was waiting for Emperor to answer. At last, Galen Ross, mechanic from Outpost Theta, I'm giving you something I've never given anyone in 3,000 years. I trust you completely. Galen's hand was shaking. Your Majesty, you're the one who saw me, not as a problem to solve or a legend to worship, but as a soul worth saving. Do what you need to do. I have faith in you. Galen's knees almost gave out under the weight of that trust. Dr. Miyamoto touched his shoulder. You can do it, Galen said. We can do this. Doctor, I need your help. And Theron knows a lot about the history of the Empire and Mira's knowledge of diplomacy and how to make connections. He looked at all of them. We're going to put the binding back together, and we're going to do it the right way. There were still 16 hours left. The real work was about to start.